Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 605 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Gabe Roberts. And if you want to learn how to only see the best in yourself, listen to the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It is Jenn Troy here with me today with the Troy Method. I'll let her tell you all about that. This is the 606th edition of the Chiro Hustle podcast, and I'll just let you know the big why. Why do we do what we do? Well, fundamentally, we protect freedom of speech with this show. I think that's really important for people to know. We know what it's like to be censored and shadow banned. If you guys have a favorite show out there, they probably have been too. We do believe that everybody deserves chiropractic in their life. Number one, because they protect medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same things, but if you want to have those in your life, find a chiropractor. So philosophically speaking, I think it's important that we let you guys know that we protect the sacred trust. The sacred trust is BJ Palmer's last words. If you want to know more about that, check out our show notes with Jenn Troy's episode of 606. Okay. We do support and protect subluxation. Subluxation is one of those words that they're taking out of the chiropractic schools. So we are standing in the gap, and we are standing with that subluxation-centered, subluxation-based chiropractic. Really important vernacular. The languaging is important. One of my mentors would always tell me, the words that you use become the house that you live in. And then we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, the physical. They connect with the adjustment. With that being said, Jenn Troy, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know there's a couple things you want to accomplish today. And one of those things is talking about chiropractic, but also talking about the greater community for chiropractic. And I think that we're going to find some ways to talk about advocacy, and maybe we'll talk about some of the things that we were discussing off camera that are pertinent to what chiropractic is and the perception of chiropractic for the people that utilize the services and how we can help more people.
Yes, 100%. Excited. Very excited.
And you said something that was a really cool one-liner: surround yourself in a strong room. And we'll talk about that too. So
Yes.
all these things that we're discussing today, Jenn and James are not chiropractors, but we work within this profession. And how did you decide that chiropractic was the right lane for you to work in?
Ooh, that is a long story. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, but give it the importance it deserves. It started when my kids were much, much younger. They're 11, twins that are 11 and a 17-year-old now. And it started when before the twins were even thought of. I got a part-time job at a chiropractic office because I wanted to spend more time with my family. So working part-time at the office, it was the most unique job description I had. My dad was a nutritionist. So I lived and grew up in the realm of natural, more holistic healthcare. Very specifically nutrition. What we're feeding our bodies fuels our bodies, and it's how our bodies are going to react to things. So that natural health office seemed like a good fit for me. And man, the rest is history. I always joke with people I talk to about my story that I literally drank the Kool-Aid. I do believe that the nerve system controls every function in our body. And I saw, and I think we're going to talk more about this, I saw the miracles that chiropractic does for patients, like what getting adjusted can do for patients is amazing. And I get chills every time I talk about it. I get chills, and I talk about it a lot. My story starts in that office and just watching patients transform. If I could have maybe rewound back like 10 years before that, I might have become a chiropractor. But here I am. My mission is to help more patients know that chiropractic is an option for them. Most people are sick and suffering and going to traditional forms of medicine, and they just don't realize that there's something else out there, or the profession has a bad rap, or they've heard misinformation about what chiropractic is and all the things. So that's really where my story began, and then has spiraled to where it's led me today. I'm super, super grateful for the day I walked into that office.
They say this: if people knew what they know, then they would do what we do.
Yeah, 1000%. Yeah, I'm a story that would say that that's true. Absolutely.
And all the people that we serve, the patients, if they knew what we know, then they would do what we do.
Yep.
And they'd probably go to become chiropractors too. The gentleman I just interviewed, Gabe Roberts, he was a Marine, still a Marine, but he was an EMT, still an EMT. And then for the past 10 years, he decided as his third career to go and to become a chiropractor. So it's never too late. It's never too late.
I was going to say, are you telling me it could still be done? Yeah. I walked into that office as a part-time employee very quickly. I would say within the first month, I was not part-time anymore, and I was digging my heels in, and, a couple of years later became the clinic director and an x-ray technician, and pretty much everything I could to just swarm myself into the world. So you're right. Never too late, but I don't know. I'm here to support.
The first interview of today was with the gal that trains CA coaches. She coaches CAs, chiropractic assistants.
Yeah.
And we're talking about teams. And one of the things that you mentioned here is community and surround yourself in a strong room. And I was saying, like, how do you find who's your ideal person to come on and work as a chiropractic assistant? And she's like, really, the service industry, waiters, waitresses, bartenders, you bring them into chiropractic, they get the job done because they're service oriented people. And I think, you coming into that world, you're a service oriented person. And now you're like, well, how can I add more value? How can I help more people? How can I meet the community of chiropractic? Well, starting with a Chiro Hustle interview is a good start. But, as you develop, though, like, let's tell people about the Troy method and how you support chiropractors. I know that you came on here and you're like, I don't want to like do this to like try to get more business, but I think people should know, like, how have you integrated with chiropractic after working in the office and going on your own way and now supporting the profession with your business?
Yeah, thank you. So when I had to leave the practice to I think it's important to give a little context, because I would probably still be at that practice had we not had to pick our family up and move away, because of just the drive that patients gave me. To see people's health transforming is it's my motivation every single day. So we had to move away. That was why I left the practice out of state. And through connection and some community with one of the marketing agencies that I worked with and I hired for our practice, They found out I was working from home and doing remote work for the doctor. And I started helping one of his friends. And I was lead managing. I was nurturing their leads. I was following up with patients from the marketing agency. And I was doing it was easy to pick that job up like remotely. One of the things I took with me was that. Our staff is busy. They didn't have time. They were seeing patients in the office. They were doing all the other things and wearing all the other hats. So it fell upon me because I could focus on it. And again, long story short, I saw this opportunity where I was helping not only my doctor in my home clinic, that I'll always call it, to then helping another. And then one of the agencies talked to me. They knew me. They knew how I work. They knew how much I love what I did. And they asked, well, can you do this for more people? And here I am. I'm a go-getter. And my thought was, oh my gosh, I can help so many more offices, so many more doctors. I'm an advocate to the core. So heck yes, let me help more. So that's the backstory. That's when the Troy method was born. We help integrated and chiropractic and integrated health offices with their lead nurturing, the follow-up on the leads, and getting new patients in their doors. Our mission at the Troy Method is to help as many patients as possible live longer, happier, healthier lives, free of the unnecessary drugs and unnecessary surgeries. And we do that by getting to help the doctors and clinics that we serve. So we take their leads and we make them new patients.
So very, very focused.
Yes, very focused. Yes, I've had to turn down other professions. I will not work for a surgeon. I will not work for a dentist. My philosophy, my mission is to help patients get to chiropractic care. And again, I get to do that by helping. I'm very specific to who I want to serve and the people I want to help and how I want to help them.
Yeah, I think it's really great. And just off camera, we were discussing like healthcare. And like you just said, not all healthcare is chiropractic.
Yeah.
And chiropractic is not healthcare.
Yeah.
Like there's only one lane you want to stay in. You want to support chiropractic businesses.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that you actually figured out something really special to support, because there were probably, as you noticed, there were probably quite a few agencies out there that were doing the first part of the job.
Yeah,
And
1000%. Yeah. Yeah.
There's more steps along the path of doing that job.
There is. Yes. Yeah. And I think it is a little bit of a missing link. I mean, it's a little nuanced, right? There are agencies and this is not knocking anybody, anything. All boats rise, if in my opinion, right? So there are agencies though that are trying to integrate what we do, and I think they can, but I know there's a question about what sets us apart. Like our drive is unmatched. Like we talk as a team about what our mission is every time we get on a meeting with our team. What's our mission? It's not just to book appointments. It's to help patients get to the care, maybe not healthcare, the care that they need. It's to get patients where they need to be. And we don't believe it's their medical doctor.
Well, there's a reframe now in the consciousness of not only the practitioner, but the patient, but our society and our culture.
Yeah.
Like there's a real reframe right now. The culture shifting to people want chiropractic. They just don't know it's called chiropractic.
Yeah.
People want healthier families. They just don't know where to go, who to trust.
Yes.
And I think that when you take like the profession as a whole and you see like how underutilized it is, the profession needs to find ways to go, and whether it's through digital marketing or whether it's through boots on the ground acquisition, they need to find ways to go and to grow their practices and to serve more people. So you're on the back end of that. you get a chance to see like the businesses that actually are seeing a lot of people.
Yes.
What advice would you give to practitioners that are out there that are like, I'm watching this today. These two aren't chiropractors, but they understand marketing. Like
Yes.
what advice would you give to practitioners that might not be full of new patients, 40 to 60 new patients a month? Like what could
Yep.
they do to improve?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm absolutely not a chiropractor, but I ran a practice, and you don't have to be a doctor to run a practice. I love you all, but you don't have to be a doctor to run a practice. And my doctor, I attribute a lot of what I am today because of that practice. I was, no more than handed the keys and said, "Here, you run this. I just want to adjust patients. Figure out all the other stuff." So, there's a lot of things, but it's invest. I don't mean just money. I mean time and energy into who do you want to serve and why you want to serve them. I believe that they have to like get your message out there, right? So if it's investing in marketing, great. But if it's being consistent and sharing valuable content on your Facebook pages, great. But it is having a voice and making sure your patients know you're even there. And I think sometimes that that can be an overwhelming process for doctors when they're trying to run a practice. They have all the other things they're trying to accomplish. Um, but it's necessary if their mission is to get patients to their doors far beyond just financial reasons, and to help more people and make a bigger impact with their office. That's sometimes I think that they have to remember why they wanted to be a chiropractor in the first place, and we're
Hmm.
happy to help remind them. Hope that answers the question, but it's having a voice. It's investing time, energy, thought, and giving the all to the patients every day. Like, sometimes we talk to our team, like it can get monotonous, right? To be on a phone all the time, or to be at a screening event all the time, or do dinner with the docs all the time. But if you continue to center yourself around why you're even doing it to begin with, it makes it easier. And I 1000% believe that in my core. Like if I forgot every day and didn't think about our mission for 2 months at a time, I would be stressed and overwhelmed and burnt out. Like my mission is to help patients, and it's easy. It's easier. And I think doctors it's hard, but they have to remember that why they're doing what they're doing to begin with.
So let me go back to square one on that question. Say they don't know how to get one new patient.
Yes. Call me. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. Yes. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's like the baseline of like the confusion with business is like, how
Yes.
do I get a client?
Yeah.
I'm omnipresent. People know that.
Yeah.
Like you were saying off camera, like I'm at all the events. I
Yep.
interview all the people. I've
Yep.
built the community around me. I've insulated myself with greatness.
Yes. Yep.
And I
Wrong
think that
room.
but I've created the room. I built the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
So when you think about like other people out there that are not as courageous or don't
Mm.
know how to like, you know, do it on their own, like what's one thing besides calling you that they could do to go get one new patient tomorrow?
Talk to somebody. Talk about it. Talk about what they do to anybody. That would be the first thing I think, right? If they don't know what to do, tell
A-
somebody what they're
a-
doing.
And chiropractically, we call that telling the story.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And then ask for help would be my secondary thing. And I don't mean like hire somebody, right? I'm not saying that. Like go to your room of people, go to your peers, go to your mentors, ask for help if you don't know how to get that one person. I think there's a couple big things they could do.
So what are some of your things that you've seen chiropractors that you've worked with as their ways to stay connected to their communities that you really like?
That's the interesting thing about having it's harder for me to see that now with being behind a screen and not being in the practice anymore. So if I'm hearing what you're saying, how do chiropractors stay connected to their community? That's the question, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're
I have a
like,
good answer.
have an agency that drives in clients and you can help convert them and get them to show up so they can like do their day
Yeah.
ones, day twos,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But like,
How to get
how,
what's before that, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I look back, I always put my clinic hat back on because we were wildly successful at what we did. And getting out in the community was going to events, going and being out in the community, whether that was a fair, right? The screening events. We didn't let one person walk by our booth without talking to them. And it wasn't just to get an appointment. It was to tell more people about chiropractic, whether right. And I'm preaching to the choir on that, but it's getting out in the community. We hosted events, free events for dinners. Some docs don't like dinners. Some think it's silly to do dinners or offer dinners. That's fine, whatever, to each their own. But we offered events for patients to come to, free to the community. They were educational. They were teaching patients about all the things. Maybe it was chiropractic one week. Maybe it was nutrition the next week. We were very engaged in the community. So I think to answer your question, it's about seeking out those events and being a part of them.
So I guess, do you see the digital marketing as productive as it was a year ago?
I think it's changing, and I think I'm not sure yet, because I have seen things shifting a bit with some of the digital marketing, where patients aren't as receptive to it almost. I mean, that's, we're seeing some trends there. I don't necessarily think all the digital marketing is created equal either. I think it's why I joke and said I never want to be a marketing agency, right? Give me the leads and then we know what to do. The lead acquisition is not my jam. But I think that's shifting, James. And I think we're still seeing the shift right before our eyes right now. I don't know that we know the answer to that yet, but I do think it's different.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle. Well, I just took a call from somebody that hit me up on Facebook Messenger today. I've never talked to the guy in my life.
Yeah.
But he was like so pissy. He was like, the ad campaigns we're running aren't good as patients anymore. He's like, even the in-person events I go do, they're not getting us patients anymore. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, stop the press. Mm-hmm. And I'm like thinking, if the human funnel system of going out to your community isn't working, and the digital funnel system of going on to the platforms isn't working, you have to find solutions to like fix that.
Well, yeah, but I would argue that perhaps they've gone too far away from the community building and tried to rely solely on digital marketing, maybe. And that could be something that's also crippling, right? With your presence in the community. Like when people are looking into, oh, hey, I saw your ad. Let me go look and see more about you. Is there a presence there outside of just those ads that are running? Right. I think that's something that the community matters.
Well, here's the other thing is other industries are running better ads. And the people that are in the news feed that
Yeah.
are looking at their friends post about their kids, or they're
Mhm.
looking at like the engagement like question post, or they're looking at like somebody's
Yeah.
like celebrating like an anniversary or something post. They're also scrolling through now and seeing something for like an ice bath, or they're finding something for a sauna, and those ads are better.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing that we have to be considerate of too, is like other industries are creating better ads. And then
Yeah.
here's the other part of it. People have input aphasia. They
Mm.
are tired of seeing ads in their news feed. So that's the
Yes.
other part of it too, is the consumer is shifting. And here's
Yes.
the other part that no one's talking about. Over the past 3 years, a lot of people that are on those platforms aren't your ideal clients anymore. Like
Yes.
they've turned their back on Facebook and Instagram because they were tired of the censorship and the shadow
Yes.
banning and all those things. So
Yeah.
a lot of the
Yeah.
people that were your ideal people have gone
Yes.
somewhere else.
On somewhere else. And yes, because I do have the question a lot from docs, like, what are you seeing with social media ads? And I'm like, they are not the best anymore. They used to be. So I'm 100% with you. Even Google, right? I'm a Googler. Anytime I'm looking for a service in my local community, I'm newer to this community. So I Google it a lot, and I look at reviews, and I look at who comes up to the top of the page, and I'm hotter because I click that button to call. And then I'm on the phone with somebody. So even Google ads are better. What we're seeing, even with the clinics we serve, is Google ads prove to be better than the social media. But you're absolutely right. I think that the people are shifting. Yeah, the
And
consumer.
and third party validation is a big thing. So if
Yeah,
you don't have at least 55-star Google reviews,
yeah,
most people aren't going to come see you. Like
yeah,
even me out in the public when I'm doing like an event at a home and garden show,
yeah,
people will be like, "Well, let me look up your reviews."
yeah,
Even in
yeah,
person, people are very like considerate of what other people have to say. Like if you
yeah.
go to Amazon, you're not going to buy like something unless it has like 1,000 stars.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's what I meant, that social proof, right? So if they've leaned too far into the digital marketing and gone away from that community, that's what limits their reviews and their presence online and the Googling. And are they in my face when I go look into who they are and what they do and who they serve and all the things? Yeah.
So I have a formatted question as to where the profession's going in 20
Yeah.
years, but let's go back. Where is marketing going in the next 24 months?
Yeah. That's a good question. You probably know that better than me. I know it's changing, right? I think we've already come up against, not up against, but we're trying to work with, like, what does AI look like in this process? To be fully transparent and not sound like a naysayer on AIs and bots and all the things. I think people are also equally sick of talking to robotic messages and texts and communication. I think people are craving more human interaction. I know I always get coached when I'm talking to my mentors about, be authentic online, be human, be who you are, and I think that ties into, what does AI technology look like for these offices? A lot of them are jumping into it, wanting it to all be automated. And I just don't think that's smart right now. And again, I'm not threatened by it. We work with it. We work together with it. I think there's a balance, but I do think that's something that's going to change the marketing space, and what that looks like yet, we don't know. But I do think patients are tired of robots talking with them and getting very generic, boring, not authentic, not engageful, meaningful conversations. Um, that would be the first thing that comes to mind with the marketing space. But I do think it would move off. I do believe social is not. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. Jury's out on what social media is going to provide, or what platform, because there has been a shift here. Just in the last couple months, we've seen a difference.
Would you like my approach on that?
Sure. Yeah. Tell it to me.
Everybody listening that will watch this interview, start your own podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Start interviewing local community leaders and cross pollinate your brand into their ecosystems.
Yeah.
Do that tomorrow. Also go old school. Join your BNI chapter. Show up to
Yeah.
those meetings. It might
Yeah.
take some time out of your life, but that's how you used to build practices old school.
Old
Join the
school.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Become active in your community with the community leaders. Go out and do every farmer's market you can go to. Have a stand there. 10 by 10 booth it. Go to every home and garden show, every boat show, every RV show, every bridal expo, everything where people come with strollers and families, street festivals, county fairs, state fairs, be there. And then take that revenue that you earn from that type of community building marketing and the podcast marketing and go out there and start investigating and interview 10 marketing agencies and test 2 of them against each other and see who gets better results for you and go with them. And then hire Jenn to do your nurturing and follow up and lead development. But that would be how I would coach anybody into going out and to build a practice tomorrow. And I think that people had to get with the tech when it comes to having interactions like this, because these are what matter. And I always tell people, you can create an interview show or you can create a solo show. Create 52 topics a week that you can talk about for 2 to 3 minutes and release a small episode. And then bring a guest on once a week and create a small episode. And before you know it, you have 104 pieces of content that you created out of your own think tank and your own relationship capital. And now you built that community. And as you said, you surround yourself in a strong room. And I think that that's really important for people to understand that you can do that digitally with ads. But we've already talked about the fail of them. And I used to tell people all the time, you have to be social on social. Like you have to be social on social. And still in 2024, you have to be social on social.
Yeah.
Business isn't going to come to you because you have a cool logo. Business isn't going to come to you because you have a great degree.
Yeah.
Like you have to become known. Napoleon Hill said this, Jenn. You have to become known, liked, and trusted. Well, the game's shifted. You have to become known, loved, and trusted. And as your coaches say, show up as your authentic self too.
Yes.
Like there's a huge component to being successful going forward. And people want you. They want the real you, but they also want, you have to go multiple pronged. And, that's why I go to every chiropractic seminar I can go to, because those are my people. That's my tribe, and if people knew, like, if you're a chiropractor, who's your tribe? Well, did you play football growing up? Were you a cheerleader growing up? Well, go take care of those communities too. Like find the people that you resonate with the most. Are you a mom? Join a mom's group. Do you deal with pregnancies? Join the doula group. I think that we can all niche down to where our people are. But that's just my takeaway for how people can become really highly successful with their marketing strategies in 24, because a lot of it has to go back with relationships.
Yes.
You still have to build relationships.
Absolutely. I think that's what's missing is you can still market digitally, but you have to have a community presence as well. I think that's the key. I hear so many agencies ask, well, what is your online things aren't working well? What's your presence like? What's your online presence like? Do people know who you are? Are you getting out in the community? So,
well, that's how you get the reviews.
Yeah.
If we live in a review economy, you're not going to get them from having Facebook ads.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple more things and then we'll say, how do we work with Jenn? Some of your mentors and heroes, who are some of the people that helped develop you to become this chiropractic advocate that you are today?
Yeah. It's funny when I saw this, I literally would have to just attribute it to, I hope he's not watching, he'll be embarrassed. But I mean, if we're talking about my chiropractic story and where I learned it all, I mean, it was Emmett. It was the office I worked for, and um, learned so much, like drinking out of the fire hose. Is that how you say it? And I was pushed to go beyond my limits and learn more and do more and serve patients in a higher capacity. So I don't, it's funny because I don't have like this big, like famous person or even, the founder of chiropractic. It really is like, I am so grateful to have that experience at the office because it has blossomed into so many bigger things. My family's health, my health, how many people I get to serve every day. Like so I would say that in the hero sense, I would say that I am just super grateful to Emmett for having pushed me and taught me everything I know about chiropractic. I mean, it really is the foundational piece that brought me to where I am today. If I wasn't there and if I didn't get pushed to learn and grow as much as I did, I wouldn't be here today and making the impact that I'm making and continuing to make moving forward. So
Well, there's some great takeaways. Dr. Emmett Blanket, thank you for inspiring Jenn Troy to do
Blahnik.
what she does. Blahnik.
Emmett
Uh,
Blahnik. Everybody always says it wrong, poor guy, but that's all right.
I'm sure I've had him on the show before, and I'm sure I had to ask him before we went live, like, how do you say your last name?
Yes. Yep, exactly. Tough cookie, but taught me everything I know. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. I have a lot of respect and admiration for what he's accomplished and what he's provided to the profession also.
Yeah.
Miracle stories. I'm sure you've seen quite a few working in the office.
Yep.
And I'm sure you hear them from the clients that you work with, that you help nurture their patients to show up. So what are some things that you would like to share with our audience today?
I'd love to share the personal story and where I really was like, wow, this is a thing. This is real. Not that I ever thought it wasn't, but my early days in the clinic, when I was first really getting my eyes open to everything chiropractic has to offer. My son was in third grade. I don't think I've ever told this story like outwardly to the world, so I'm excited to share it. He was in third grade, first kid. You always make your mistake with your first kids. He was struggling in school, struggling with everything you could think of, labeled with everything you can think of. And we were really struggling. Like, what do we do? He was having a hard time with his schoolwork, having trouble focusing, all the things. And, everything was leading down that path of a diagnosis of, ADHD with him, or he had one. And, I mentioned earlier, I'd grown up in a more holistic home, nutrition and what feeds your body, fuels your body. And your body is, my dad's saying was, if you put bad gas into a car, is the car going to function the way it should? Right. So that was his the way he talked to a child about nutrition, right? What goes in is bad. It's going to come out presenting bad as well. And we were just, newer parents, younger parents, and just were struggling so hard because we didn't know how to help him. And school was always coming at us. Enter in 6 months working in the clinic. Maybe not even 6 months working in the clinic. And I started putting some pieces together. I'm like, wait a second here. Wait a minute. How does chiropractic impact the nervous system and what's going on with my son? We had teachers who weren't supposed to say he should be on medications, but were telling us he needed to be on medications and all the things. And we just felt like, even back then, didn't want to do that. Something told us that wasn't right. Fast forward, started getting him bringing him. He was already coming into the office, but fast forward to being very strategic and purposeful about his adjustments and how often, and changing some nutrition as well, which was also things I was learning at a way higher level. 2 months in, he was a completely different child. I get Chill's talking about that too. Completely different. The teacher actually thought, oh, did you guys put him on a medication? Because he's just, no, we did not. We got him adjusted. We changed some things nutritionally, took out some of the garbage that he was eating, supplemented his diet well, but by and large, chiropractic and the correlation between misalignments and subluxations in the atlas and how that can affect the symptoms that people experience when they have ADHD. That is our miracle story, because he was a completely different kid moving forward. And I told teachers like later on in his life about the kid who struggled and who was just challenging and defiant and all the things. And they're like, that is not even possible that that's the same. And I'm like, yeah, it was. So some tweaks. I mean, we were generally speaking better at home with diet and stuff than the normal standard American diets that you hear today, but everybody has work to do, right? That's one of our miracles. I mean, I could go on to sharing the chiropractic stories about, patients coming into the office that presented with symptoms that mimicked MS and coming out months later, those symptoms disappearing. So I've definitely seen miracles, and my family story was the one that started it all, 100%.
That's brilliant. And this is something I don't share. I probably don't. Many people probably that watched this show for 6.5 years probably never heard the story, but up until age 12, I struggled mightily with dyslexia. I wrote and read backwards. They told me I'd never be an educated man, and I wasn't supposed to ever get a college degree or any of that stuff. And I've done all of that stuff. Okay. So I didn't start chiropractic until I was 16, but I didn't write like the regular way. Like I wrote backwards. I didn't write like from left to right like I do today until I was 12 years old. So if I lived in the culture we are today, they would have drugged the shit out of me.
Yes. Yep.
I didn't take a single drug as a kid. I worked with a specialist and I wrote in a sandbox every day. But I couldn't read my first book until I was 12 years old. So when you talk about your son developing and having these things, yeah, I had the sad diet. I grew up in poverty, and I wasn't anybody special. I was just a kid that grew up with, family. But I think that a lot of times people don't know. I say this time after time. If people knew what chiropractic did, they would probably go and at least get their spine checked. But most people don't know where to go or who to trust. And if my mom knew like what you figured out as a parent, I would have started chiropractic care much earlier. So any moms that are out there watching and their kids are having like learning struggles or developmental struggles, or a lot of kids are really struggling with isolation and depression and suicidal thoughts. Like, take your kids, watch to right now, minute 41.5. Take your kids to the chiropractor tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, that's my call to action for today's episode. Take your kids to the chiropractor tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, we can change the world with this profession. Chiropractic is chiropractic. And just like our conversation before, we discussed chiropractic is not healthcare. Chiropractic is a standalone profession that checks, detects, and corrects vertebral subluxations. Whether it's the Atlas or the L5, chiropractic adjusts. There's no manipulation involved. Now, will chiropractors give advice on, other parts of a healthy lifestyle, supplementation, what pillows to use, things like that? Of course. Stretching, of course, things like that. But chiropractic is a standalone profession that checks, detects, and corrects vertebral subluxation. And that's what your son benefited from. And I think that everybody should take their kid and get them checked by a chiropractor tomorrow.
Yes.
If people wanted to work with you, Jenn, where do we send them to?
Yep. The website's the easiest place to go, www.thetroymethod.com. You can schedule a call to chat with me, send an email through there. But the website, definitely the best. You'll learn a little bit more about us, who we are, what we do, and that's it.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share with our audience today?
No, I don't think so. But I just want to reiterate my passion is to help as many patients as possible. And I'm in this community and want to be a part of the community because of that. Those miracles, those are just a few of all the stories I saw with patient care. And it literally fuels everything I do every day. And I hope that Chiros, if you're out there feeling like burnout and what do you do, just remember why you do it in the first place. That helps me every single day. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm grateful to have been on here to talk with you about this. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to hold space and to have these cultural conversations focused about one thing, and that's chiropractic.
Yes.
And your episode 606 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Check Jenn Troy out at thetroymethod.com and schedule your call with her and see how she can help grow your practice and make life less stressful.
Yes.
And
awesome.
With that, I'm going to close out like I always do, telling everybody you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.